Warriors Fast Break on HBC TV 25 is brought to you by El Patron Mexican Grill and Cantina. Their happy hour is Sundays through Thursdays, 3 to 7 p.m. Check out our Facebook page for details. Authentic and delicious El Patron. Hello again, everybody, and welcome to Warriors Fast Break here on HBC TV 25. I'm Justin Barrientos. Thank you for joining us. Head coach Scott Ballard joins us once again, and successful weekend. You pick up 2 wins in the NSIC. Although maybe from what I hear, and correct me if I'm wrong about this, you maybe weren't so enthusiastic about your performance against Sioux Falls on Friday, even though you come away with the win?
Oh, no, I felt good about the win. It's just that we felt like our bench could have played better, especially offensively as far as taking care of the basketball. But we're always pleased when we win. It's just, we're more focused on how we play, and we're striving for, more consistency, especially on the offensive end. But the Sioux Falls game, they're a good team. They're going to win a lot of games, and we have to go back to their place in a month. But they kind of surprised us by starting out playing a 3-2 zone the entire first half, and then they had some. They had some kids that made some shots in the first quarter, especially that are not known for being good shooters from the perimeter. But you got to give them credit; they hit some shots and made us have to adjust our defense. But after the first quarter, I felt like we defended, pretty well, and I thought Caleb Timmerman did a great job defending their inside post player connect, which made it a little bit easier for us to get out on their perimeter people that were hitting some shots early.
You only gave up 5 points to Sioux Falls in that second quarter. That's a pretty good feat for any team, especially a team like Sioux Falls. So what do you think the difference was in that second quarter that you were able to shut them down?
Well, I think we got out on all their perimeter people and challenged them a lot more and made them have to try to put it on the floor. Their 2 leading scorers ended up only scoring a total of 7 points combined, which, I'm hoping that our defense has something to do with that, and I think it did. But, they had some other kids that, scored some points that normally are not big scores, so it was kind of a wash. But, we defended well. The 2 areas that we were not happy with ourselves was giving up 22 offensive rebounds and having 18 turnovers. That's not a winning formula, and we were able to get away with it that night because we outshot them, from the field by a large margin.
Yeah, you were 43% from the field. You had Sioux Falls 27.4, so that was pretty good. And then you were 10 points better from shooting from 3. I want to ask about the 3-point shots because we saw Kayla Timmerman hit 3 3-point shots in that game. And I know she can hit the shots.
Yeah.
How comfortable were you to have her shoot that many in one game?
Well, she hit some in our first 2 exhibition games against Drake and Wisconsin. But, didn't get very many opportunities and didn't hit the ones that she did have in our first, half a dozen games in the regular season. So it was just a matter of time. But, she likes that high post area. And once she hits one, you better look out because she's going to look for it again and again. And basically it seemed like she got like 3 in a row there into the first quarter and early in the second quarter. But, she is a good shooter. It's just a matter of, we've always given her the green light to take it if it wasn't early in the clock. But when you're playing against the zone and you've hit one, it's like, okay, let's see if I can do it again. So she really gave us a boost at both ends of the floor and had a tremendous game that night. I think she had 25 points, 11 or 12 rebounds, a couple blocks. And, she's capable of being an impactful player at both ends of the floor. But, I was really pleased with her defensive effort, and it made a big difference for us. And we're going to need that more from her and Emily Worth and Hannah McGlone when she plays, at the 5 spot a little bit. we're going to need that more as the season progresses.
Yeah, you almost had 3 players that went for double-doubles in that game, which is pretty impressive to have that. Thoughts on that?
Well, I didn't realize it till, after the game was over and I got home and was, studying the box a little bit, and I thought, wow, Tara and Hannah both were 1 rebound away from having a double-double to go along with Kayla Timmerman. But, it's not very often that you have 2 people have a double-double in the same game, let alone 3. So that would have been very unique and very special. But, we got a lot of people that we're trying to develop over there, young people on the bench, and get them ready for what's coming.
All right, quickly get to the Southwest game. One that it was 60-36 was the final score in that one. 56 rebounds in that game for your side.
Well, it sounds good, and it is, but it means that there was a lot of missed shots.
Right.
And once again, I'm hoping our defense had something to do with Southwest shooting such a low percentage. But since we've watched film today, there was a lot of defensive breakdowns that we had that were covered up or camouflaged by the spread of the score, the deficit, and how low a percentage that they shot. But we've got to do a much better job with switching and talking and boxing out, this upcoming weekend, even than we did against Southwest and Sioux Falls.
Our guest today is Jenny Tuttle. She had 11 points, 3 of 6 from three-point range. She's really come on this season as a big player for you guys.
Well, it's not a surprise to me. It might be a surprise to some other people just because she didn't put those numbers up last year, but she was playing behind Alexis Foley and Connor Nagel. And I told a lot of people, last year and the beginning of this year, Jenny Tuttle's better than what you know. And, she's very efficient. She's very steady with the way she plays. She never takes a bad shot. She hits a good percentage of her good shots, and she runs the team. We've always wanted Jenny to be more vocal, but she's getting it done. She's running a team, and whether it's body language or hand signals or eye contact. She's doing a really good job of running a team, and we're pleased with her performance.
All right, we have just about a minute and a half left. The games this weekend, you mentioned Minnesota State, Mankato, and Concordia St. Paul on the road again.
Yep.
How do you feel you match up against those teams?
Well, they're both big challenges. I think they're both better teams than what we've played so far up to this point. Mankato has some good wins. They beat Missouri Western. They beat Missouri Southern from MIAA. They lost a close game at Augie Saturday night. They beat Wayne at Wayne, which is always a big challenge. But, they're a team I felt like underachieved last year, but we really had a lot of respect for their talent pool and their depth. And they just seem that they've got 5 seniors, and you can tell that they're playing with a lot of determination and like they're on a mission. So they've always played great defense, but now they're starting to get a lot of balanced scoring. We had 2 tough games with them last year, and playing on the road and at their place will be a big challenge for us. And Concordia, they've got a big win over Central Missouri, who's 7-1 from the MIAA, and they played at Michigan Tech and Northern Michigan, and they beat Wayne by 20 at Wayne Saturday night. So they're both really good teams and well coached and have a good mix of experienced, talented players with some younger people. So they're going to be everything that we want for sure.
All right, we're going to take a break here on Warriors Fast Break, and when we come back, we'll get the player perspective as Jenny Tuttle joins us right after this. Warriors Fast Break on HBC TV 25 is brought to you by El Patron Mexican Grill and Cantina. They have the best Mexican food in town. Authentic and delicious El Patron. Welcome back to Warriors Fast Break here on HBC TV 25, and Jenny Tuttle now joins us. And Jenny, thank you for being here today. I want to ask you about what Coach Ballard just said about you and about the role that you have on the team now. How are you adapting to that role, and how does it feel to hear those great things from Coach Ballard?
It feels great to hear it from him. I mean, last year I played behind Alexis and Connor, and they're obviously phenomenal athletes, and I learned so much just watching and taking notes from them. So this year it's been exciting to kind of get to be on the court more and show everyone what I can do.
So what's the plan now for the rest of the season for Jenny? How are you going to try to utilize her this season?
The same way we have been. She's our starting point guard, and that's what we're counting on, and hopefully she can stay healthy and continue to grow and develop and gain more confidence and become more aggressive offensively, and just become a more complete player. And and it's like I mentioned earlier, we're striving for consistency, and thank goodness she's been one of our most consistent players. And I've always said this, and she can testify to it, but usually your team will play as well as your point guards do, and that's a lot of responsibility and pressure and whatnot. But she's used to it. She's been through a lot of ups and downs in her career, and overcome a lot of adversity, and I'm really proud of her with how she's stuck to it, and her mental toughness and belief in herself and the system, and it's starting to show up now.
All right, senior season, does it seem like the time has just flown by here?
Oh gosh, yeah, it's crazy. Like, I still feel like I'm 16. Like, it's really sad. Like, I live with 4 other girls on the team, and we all just kind of have moments where, like, oh my gosh, like, this is our last year together. Like, we're not going to know what to do next year. Like, we're just going to be lost. So we're really trying to just take in every single moment. Like, even at practice, it's like, this is one less practice we're ever going to get. So it's a special year, and I'm excited to see where we take it.
You seem to be fairly close with Emily Worth. I see the messages kind of back and forth between the two of you. What's that kind of friendship like?
Oh, yeah, I love Em. We obviously, on social media, we have a great relationship. We live on the first floor in our house together, so that kind of like brought us together when we moved in. And we're from similar areas in Wisconsin, so we have a lot in common, and we're kind of the same person in many ways. And we bond over our injuries and how we have developed through the last 4 years, so it's pretty cool.
All right, I want to ask you about the games that we had this weekend against Sioux Falls and Southwest. The Southwest game, we said you had a couple three-pointers in that game. How did you feel shooting-wise in that game?
I felt good. That game, I feel like the scoring was much more distributed, and so I knew we kind of needed to look for some outside shots, and so when I had them, I just let it fly.
Okay, and then the Sioux Falls game, obviously a great opponent and a tough game, but you guys came out on top. What was that game like?
That game was interesting, I guess. We wanted to stop their fast break, and it kind of just
It's okay.
Pause.
It's okay. You're fine. You're fine.
Okay, what was the question?
Yeah, it was just about Sioux Falls
Okay.
and kind of how tough that game was, and what your reaction was to how your team performed in that game.
My reaction would be, I think we came together as a team. Getting down right away in the beginning was not what we expected, but I think as a team we came back and kind of collected ourselves and played how we knew we should play to pull out the win.
All right, now we'll get to our kind of fun questions here. There's something I saw on social media. Apparently, your mom was in Copenhagen, and she still followed the team, even though she was in a much different time zone than that?
Yeah, my mom, she travels a lot to work, and especially out to Denmark. So, it's pretty crazy to think that she set her alarm for like 2 a.m. just to wake up and watch live stats. It wasn't even like live video. She watched the stats. And it just goes to show, like, family's everything. And, like, without my parents and my whole family, like, I wouldn't be playing basketball, so it's pretty cool.
All right, and then the last silly question that I saw, and this has to do with Emily as well. Apparently you're not a fan of bacon, and she put a poll out there asking if it was strange that you didn't like bacon. Is there any story there?
I just hate bacon. And everyone in my house just makes fun of me for it, and they're mad at me because I don't like it, but it's gross.
Interesting. Well, thank you for joining us here this week.
No, thank you for having me.
Have fun this weekend, and good luck the rest of the season.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to take a break here on Warriors Fast Break, and when we come back, we'll talk with the men's basketball team and head coach Todd Eisner. That's right after this. Warriors Fast Break on HBC TV 25 is brought to you by El Patron Mexican Grill and Cantina. They are the place to go for an express lunch, 7 days a week from 11 till 3. Authentic and delicious El Patron. Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Warriors Fast Break. Time now to talk men's basketball with head coach Todd Eisner. And Coach, good to see you out and about once again. I know the first couple of times that we talked to you, you were not able to coach because of surgery this offseason. So I kind of want to revisit that just a little bit and talk about when did you find out that you were going to have some kind of surgery and you'd have to be away from the team for a while?
Well, it's been an ongoing process. I've been getting treated at Mayo all summer and fall. I did a kind of a less invasive procedure in early August that did not end up helping solve the issue, and so we still wanted to be pretty cautious with my health condition, and so we still tried to just treat it with medicine throughout the fall, and still wasn't getting really any progress in terms of feeling better. So I saw the doctor, it would have been late October, and he finally felt like that was the time that we needed to go in and surgically fix the issue, and so I did that on November 3rd, and then it's just been a process from there of trying to get back to feeling better.
Now you had to kind of stay away from practices as well. How long was it before you were finally able to get back on the practice court?
Well, it's still been ongoing. In terms of really kind of being normal, I haven't really been cleared to be normal, and normal for me is loud and obviously pretty active during practice and games. And so I see the surgeon this Friday, and hopefully my hope is that I'll be allowed to progress towards being a little more my typical self, which it's been very difficult not to be that way. Not being able to watch games from the sideline instead of up in the kind of the Warrior Club has been really challenging, and not being able to travel with the team to Kentucky was difficult. So just trying to hopefully get back to normal, and so that our guys are used to the same voice every single day, I think will be beneficial to everybody.
How did you kind of work out the dynamic then with Zach Melvick, who then had to take over as bench head coach while you were gone, to try to make sure that everything was kind of the way that you wanted it out on the court, or did you let him kind of develop a plan? How did that work? Well,
we obviously collaborated before every game as to kind of a game plan that we wanted on that particular night, the things that we wanted to do and try to work on and be better at. And Zach's got a great grasp of what's expected of our players, and so there wasn't any real deviation of anything. But obviously, if I'm not going to be there, or I'm going to be up in the Warrior Club, it's not like I had a headset on and was barking down instructions during the course of the game. I mean, the 40 minutes of live action, those were his calls, and so the two at home, I came back down and at halftime and gave at least my thoughts from that standpoint. But Zach was on his own for the most part during the game, but it wasn't like I expected him to put in a new offense and a new defense and see us playing zone defense. I mean, then him and I would have certainly had some other talks, but he did a great job, and it's a difficult challenge because I think as a basketball player, a lot of times you see the assistant there and you think you can get away with maybe not doing exactly what the head coach wants, and I thought our guys handled it well, and I thought Zach handled it well.
Let's talk a little bit about then the trip to Kentucky, because you had a couple games in the Kentucky Wesleyan Classic, and I know you weren't able to go on those games. It actually was probably best because your team actually caught the flu, and a lot of players were then not able to practice, not able to go to classes. Aside from that, we'll get to that in just a second, but the games in Kentucky, how did those go for your team?
Well, I thought it was great competition for us. I thought it was a great indicator of what we were capable of doing. Kentucky Wesleyan's traditionally a very strong Division II program. Obviously had to go to their place and play in front of their crowd, and they're very talented. They've got a lot of Division I transfers on their roster. They got a couple more coming eligible at the semester, which is kind of their MO as to how they build their roster. But difficult place to play, and I thought for the most part our guys tried to compete. I was able to watch that one online. Then the negative was, though, that the second game was not live streamed online, and so I had to watch just the live stats. And that was really difficult to do. But obviously, I think all 4 teams were really, really good teams. The fact that we played Carson Newman in day 2 was a very similar matchup to Kentucky Wesleyan. We defended much better over the course of 40 minutes to hold them to 41% shooting. I thought was tremendous. They were averaging 100 points a game going into the tournament when they were 4-0 and had just beat Lincoln Memorial on Tuesday night, 111 to 109. And Lincoln Memorial lost to Augustana in the national championship game last year, and so and was ranked 6th in the country. So I thought the fact that we turned around the next day and beat Carson Newman was a really good sign of what we're capable of doing.
So then the team comes back from Kentucky, and then you find out that most of your players and some of your coaching staff as well too come down with the flu. And I know I saw you in the hall over at Winona State and kind of talking about how players were progressing and how things were going. How did that kind of throw a wrench into the works, and did you kind of think, oh, now what else can happen?
Yeah, it was a difficult week, and our guys, I was really challenged them. I was hard on them. I was like, hey, we got to overcome this. I mean, it's adversity, it's a difficult circumstance, but nobody's going to feel sorry for us. I mean, Southwest Minnesota, when we played them on Saturday night, didn't have their starting center, and he didn't play all game. I mean, every team deals with obstacles and adversity, and we've got to figure out a way over these 2 games to be good enough to win. That being said, it's one of the worst flu attacks that I've ever been around in the coaching profession. 11 of the 14 people that were on that trip caught the flu and either missed work, as in Zach and Dustin, our coaches, and Kelsey, our trainer, or 8 of the 11 players that were on the trip got sick. The only player of the 9 that play that did not get the flu is Isaiah. The rest of them all got it, and it was not a 24-hour flu. I mean, Zach was in bed for 36 straight hours, and it really attacked him, physically. So we didn't have any practice Monday. We didn't have any practice Tuesday. We only practiced in the half court Wednesday because they just didn't have a lot of pop to them. So in theory, we got 1 normal day of practice instead of 4 for our opening weekend at home. And again, the bottom line is we're 0-2 because of it, but because Southwest played better than us on Saturday and Sioux Falls played better than us on Friday. They're not giving us the games back. We're not allowed to postpone them. It is what it is. And unfortunately, we weren't good enough on either night to win the game.
I want to ask about that because I don't know what the rule is. So there's no course for postponement or anything. No matter what happens, you would have.
No, I guess I wouldn't know exact circumstances. But I mean, one of the things we half joked about, I mean, is it would have been later in the week that everyone would have caught it. I mean, we probably would have had to pull those kids out of their redshirt year. I think as long as you got 5 players, you're supposed to show up.
Sure.
And it would have been a tough thing to do, and thankfully we didn't have to go there. But yet our guys really paid for it. I talked to Kyle Bauman yesterday on Sunday, and he felt like Saturday he felt the effects of the week more than he did on Friday, and still was dealing with some stomach cramping during the game on Saturday. And he was one of the first to get it. So you're talking a 5-day, ramification and having to deal with it. So, I certainly had empathy for our guys. I thought they, figured out a way to try to do the best they could. Unfortunately, it's 2 games at home that we, didn't handle what we needed to handle to make sure that we've started the league out in a positive way.
All right, we need to take a break here on Warriors Fast Break, and when we come back, we'll talk about the 2 games this past weekend as we have more with head coach Todd Eisner right after this. Warriors Fast Break on HBC TV 25 is brought to you by El Patron Mexican Grill and Cantina. Their happy hour is Sundays through Thursdays, 3 to 7 p.m. Check out our Facebook page for details. Authentic and delicious El Patron. Back to Warriors Fast Break here on HBC TV 25. Time to talk a little bit more with head coach Todd Eisner, and let's actually get into the games from this past weekend. Sioux Falls was the first one, and I imagine it was kind of difficult to watch that game only because you knew that it was a dogfight, it was a hard-fought battle, and you had to know with how your team had been throughout the week that, man, we didn't need this on Friday, knowing that there was another game that was going to be coming up on Saturday.
Yeah, it's difficult in our league when you got to play back-to-back and you're healthy, and so trying to figure out a way to pace our guys and give them the proper rest and figure out how to win a game. Was a difficult challenge. And, the disappointing part, obviously, is trying to establish this home court dominance, and we didn't do a great job of that last year and really had a goal in mind this year to establish that, and now we're off to a difficult start at home. But more disappointing than anything is just the fact that we didn't defend. And we took really a lot of pride last year in defending at a high level and led the league in all the important defensive categories. And yet we start out our first league game at home and give up 90 points and let a team shoot 52% from the floor and 52% from the three and make 14 threes. And anytime you do that, it's going to be a difficult, obstacle to overcome. And we paid for it at the end.
And yet, you had Kyle Bauman and Riley Bamanek, who both had 20-plus points on the night, kind of proving that no matter what happens, they can still perform out on the court.
Yeah, and I think our three seniors actually had really good weekends scoring the basketball, and yet as I talked to them today in film and talked to them after the game on Saturday, just scoring points doesn't mean you're doing your job. We've got to stop the other people that we're playing against and put ourselves in a position where I'm making your job difficult, and we're not making the other team's job difficult. We didn't do that on Friday, and so, you can score as many points as you want. If you're not 1 point better than the other team, we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing. That being said, we don't ever want to give up 90 points, and we don't ever want to just try to outscore people. We adjusted well in the second half and attacked more and got to the free throw line and got to the rim some and scored 55 points. And anytime you can score 55 points and a half and defend, you're probably going to win. Well, we scored 55, but we didn't guard anybody and gave up 55. And so we paid the price for it at the end.
All right, I want to ask you a little bit about Isaiah Gray. He didn't start in that game against Sioux Falls, but had a great game. I think it was 18 points on the night, 7 of 8 shooting during the game, didn't miss a lot of shots. And then he does start against Southwest on Saturday. So the question is that because he was probably the most healthy person that you had because he hadn't had the flu, or did he play his way into the starting lineup the next night?
Well, I just think our starting lineup's going to be a little fluid early in the season. And so, Isaiah started one game in Kentucky, Josh started one game in Kentucky, and then this opening weekend, Josh started on Friday because I just basically went with that because the game that Josh started and he played 31 minutes, we won the game, and so, I've talked to Isaiah about it and I talked to all my guys about it. Who starts the game doesn't really matter to coaches. I understand it matters to players and families and fans and everything else, but, to me, the value of a player is based on the game is tied at the end of a game and you're in the game. If the people that you think are going to help you win close games are the ones that you put in at the end of a game. Who starts really is not relevant for me. But Isaiah offensively played very, very well. As I mentioned to him and Josh today, their starting point guard had a career high of 18 points on Friday night, and Brueggemann from Southwest had 19 points on Saturday night. So, to just be even in the scoring column with the people that you're responsible for doesn't help us win games, and we've got to do a better job on the defensive end of the floor of taking away people.
Let's talk about after the game on Friday against Sioux Falls and heading into the game against Southwest. How did you gauge where your team was and what you'd be able to see from them on that Saturday? Well,
and I really didn't gauge in terms of asking like, hey, how you feeling? We had to figure out a way to win. We just gave one away, and we had a team that was coming in off of their first loss, and so you knew they were going to be angry. Obviously, we get into the warm-ups and find out that their starting center is not going to play. And so, our opportunity to take advantage of the fact that their depth inside wasn't going to be as good, yet we didn't take advantage of it. We struggled to score at the rim off drives. We didn't handle their switching defense very well, yet we had worked on it for the day and a half that we had for practice this week. But it's something that we've worked on before and dealt with it, and I thought we needed to handle it better. I do think, looking back on it now, the fact that we shot 36% or whatever it was in the game, probably you look back at the week we had, and it was just a bunch of guys running out of fuel. And, shots that we usually make didn't go down, and when you're shooting on a lot of jump shots are going to be short. You live by the jump shot, you die by the jump shot, and unfortunately we just ran out of gas, I think. And yet, during both of the games, very low turnover numbers, so that's got to be something that you're happy about. Yeah, it's been good, but part of it was I didn't think we attacked them very well, and so I would live with a little more turnover rate if we were a little more aggressive. I didn't think we were very aggressive against their switching. I thought they were the aggressors. I thought, they dictated how the game was played at both ends of the floor. They were the more aggressive team defensively, caused us to be back on our heels, and we didn't do anything over the course of the weekend to really make them have to worry about us when we were on defense. And anytime you're the one reacting to how the other team plays, I think you put yourself behind the 8 ball, and that's what happened really all weekend. All right, just about a minute or two left in the show. Talk about this weekend's games against Minnesota State and Concordia. Well, obviously Minnesota State, as preseason picked to win the league. Obviously, always very talented. John Fuqua inside is as good an athlete as they're going to be in the league. They've got 2 sophomores back in Wittes and Harper that are very, very good. They brought in a couple transfers as they traditionally do, and that are very, very talented. And we're going to have to be ready to go anytime you go over there. It's a huge challenge, and then turn right around and play at Concordia St. Paul, which has got a couple players that were very productive for them last year back. They did lose a couple of important seniors, but they've got a couple freshmen coming in and playing really well for them. So we just need to get back to being healthy, number one, giving ourselves an opportunity about competing at a really high level, and let the chips fall where they may.
All right, well, good luck this weekend, and thanks for coming in today.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
All right, thank you for joining us here on Warriors Fast Break. We'll see you next time here on HBC TV 25.